Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I'll be talking about Laramie Tunsil and how he absolutely dominated the Washington Commanders and Patriots joint practice and how he could be the Washington Commanders' best offensive lineman since, yes, Trent Williams. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe. It's free. It takes 1 second and it would really help out the channel and the algorithm, all that stuff. Like button, notification bell, comment down below your favorite player that you're looking forward to playing in the preseason game tomorrow. But let's get right into it. So Laramie Tunsil had a really good practice and everyone took notice. Every Commanders beat reporter that was reporting, maybe not about Bon Jovi and Jason Tatum, if you know, you know, but he did really well. Lake Lewis said, I have to let DC know that Laramie Tunsil's up here at joint practices, manhandling folks. He's a stonewall. And he also mentioned that Josh Connerly is having a good day as well. That is really good news. Both are really good news. We want Laramie Tunsil to be good. And then obviously Connerly too. We need him to be good. Zach Selby, who has done a really good job, and he's been, talking about Laramie Tunsil for a bit. He said Tunsil's really good. And we'll keep going here. We'll go from this one right here. So Laramie Tunsil took a Patriots linebacker to the stands, and a fight was close to breaking out. And this is per JV Finley. And he said later that Laramie Tunsil just put Keon White into the ground with little effort, per Zach Selby. So Tunsil was dominating yesterday, and that is not an overstatement. Might be an understatement because he was absolutely insane from all accounts. This is from, Lake Lewis, Zach Selby, you got, JP Finley saying it, you got John Kime, Ben Stanek, all of them. And then you also hear, this is from Brandon, who just, talked about something that JP Finley said, that the Commanders ran 12 to 13 personnel sets with one tight end next to each tackle. Since adding Laramie Tunsil, they were able to run the sets today with just Tunsil on the left and two tight ends, Bates, Ertz, or Sinnott on the right side. So that adds, more opportunities to the pass/run game. So that's a really cool insight there. And hopefully this is able to Sorry, I had to pause real quick, but back into it. So, this allows the Commanders to do, a little bit more. And yeah, it just adds them to, allows them to do a little bit more with, whatever they want to do. And, no tight ends on the left, leave him on his island and let him do what he needs to do. And then you can have two tight ends on the right side. And that helps out with, especially Josh Connerly, a rookie. You give him some help, also allows you to do some other things in the pass game. I think that's really good and will allow the Commanders to, evolve even more offensively and change their looks up even more than it was last year, which, had a really good season. The Commanders had a really good season. Everyone likes to talk about, sophomore slump. Not necessarily just for Jaden, but Cliff Kingsbury and this Commanders team in general. Okay, whatever you want to say. But stuff like this, adapting to the situation and evolving is the way you don't have a sophomore slump, is, adding wrinkles like this to the offense, adding players like Laramie Tunsil, who is going to be your blindside protector for your franchise, for Jaden Daniels. And I think that makes a huge difference. And having him in the building, and obviously his play is good and hopefully will be good to elite, but also you have a guy in Josh Connerly who you drafted, and you can have him, just get all that good information from Laramie Tunsil as much as possible, and just continue to get better and better. I really like these stories and this dominance that we're hearing, about Laramie Tunsil. Like, it brings me back to those Trent Williams days, and I'm not saying that he is Trent Williams. I'm not, but I'm saying it's similar. And Trent was really good here, obviously. But, all of his accolades unfortunately came when he left here. But he was still a really good tackle here and should have made some All-Pros. But I do not believe he did. He might have made a second-team All-Pro. But, Laramie Tunsil is very, well regarded around the league and has a lot of awards, and he's one of the better tackles in football. And there was a reason why he was supposed to be a top three, top five pick before the video got leaked out. So he's very talented and he's lived up to it and more. And with Washington, hopefully he continues to get even better. He's not too old. He still has some really good football left in him. And playing behind a guy like Jaden Daniels, that probably can help him out even more. Just in terms of the stuff he has to do. It might hurt him in some regards in terms of there might be some extra sacks, but also he runs out of the sacks too, so it kind of evens out at the end. But I'm really excited about Laramie Tunsil and just hearing stories like this. And during practice, it's something that we haven't had in so long, and you hear it on the defensive side as well. With Marshawn Lattimore, he's got that edge to him that we haven't had in a cornerback in a while. And you saw there was a fight yesterday, and I don't mind it. Like, I like that intensity on the team. It's just when you get a lot of these 15-yard penalties, then it becomes a little bit of an issue. But if it's just intensity, if it's just trash talk and the occasional penalty, I don't really mind it. But when it becomes a issue where it's reoccurring every few games, that's when it starts to become a big problem. Larry Tunsil, his issue last year was his penalties, and the false starts were really bad. So if he can just fix that this year, which it might be difficult with a new quarterback, new offense, but if he can fix that, he is going to be in a really good spot because he does not allow a lot of sacks and he is pretty, healthy overall. So I think he will be a great addition to the Commanders. And you see Laramie right there moving really, really well. I'll show the clip again because it started with a couple seconds already in. And you see him there getting some really good work in. And yeah, he is going to be a monster for the Washington Commanders. And it just opens up so much when you have a franchise left tackle. And, Brandon Coleman was all right last year, but there were games where it was rough. And he was allowing some sacks and pressures, like that the Buck playoff game. That was a really bad game by Brandon Coleman. Now you move him inside. You have Josh Connerly on the right. You have Laramie Tunsil on the left. It just helps out a lot. The run blocking will hopefully be better, but the pass blocking, that's the most important thing, is just taking care of Jaden Daniels and making sure he gets hit as little as possible. And Laramie Tunsil is going to make sure that happens for the Washington Commanders, and I have no doubt about that. Besides that, I'm trying to think of any major things that happened. Some Terry news came out, a lot of the same stuff. Maybe I'll make a video on it just because it's been a while. It's probably been a week or so since I've made a Terry McLaurin video. And besides, Trey Amos, I didn't really talk about it a lot in my recap video yesterday, but Trey Amos apparently had a pretty good day, was holding his own against those Patriots receivers and doing really well. And Mikey wasn't doing too well, even though he did get an interception. And apparently, I didn't really hear Lattimore's name too much during practice. Apparently, he didn't have the best practice, but Trey Amos, it looks like for sure he is going to be that starting outside cornerback alongside Mikey Sanders still in the slot, and then Marshawn Lattimore on that other boundary. So I like the secondary. Will Harris is a question mark. We'll see what he does. I like Quan Martin, and Quan Martin played well last year. Not amazing, played well, but he had a separated shoulder like almost all the year. So for him to play that well with that, let's see what he can do healthy, and maybe bring some harder hits than he did last year, because understandably so, have a shoulder injury like that, it's a little bit more difficult. And then Will Harris, he's a hard hitter too, but I don't know what we're gonna get out of him. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys new, and peace.